It's Mike with Not Van Porn, and today I'm going to do a van walkthrough of my 84 Volkswagen Vanagon Westfalia. So I have an 84 Vanagon, which gives me the round style headlights. They go to square style on 86 and newer. My round style headlights have been LED swapped with standard 7-inch LED bulbs. They are super bright and I really love them. These are just the marker lights for right now, the daylight running markers. One other thing to note is I've swapped all the bulbs in the van. Every bulb in the van is all LED now. There's not a single incandescent left in the van. This drops the power load, but it also makes everything very bright and very fast. Alright, so the first thing you notice on the side of my van is I have some primer over the seams that have some issues here. I plan on soon getting these re-welded and repainting the body, or touching up the body at least. As you noticed, my body is not in the best condition, and for the most part, that doesn't really matter to anybody but me, or maybe somebody I was going to try to sell the van to. But I'm not really trying to sell it right now. So as I have a Westfalia, I have a bunch of utility ports on the side, on the driver's side here. First in the back here, you'll notice that none of them have their covers on them anymore. They usually have doors here. They had doors when I got them 15 years ago, but the doors have kind of beaten up and the plastic's gone. But on this right port is a keyed port. This is fresh water. So this is for the tank, for the freshwater tank. I'm not exactly sure how it is. I believe it's 12 to 16 gallons of water that are stored in here. Also over here is the 110 power port. And then on here, this would be city water. A hose would hook up to this. I plan on at some point when I do the paint on this side to at least replace all these. Up here is the Go Westy part of the Go Westy fridge replacement kit, fridge delete kit. This is the metal plate that covers what used to be the exhaust for this fridge, but I now just have storage in there. We'll get that on the other side. One other thing to note down here, I've done a propane tank delete. I now use the 1-pound bottles instead. One thing to note on my van is I have a lot of stickers. I have to like the stickers. Some of these are places I bought or purchased things from. Northwesty's across the valley from me. Fresh Westy has some nice shirts and such. But this is my county's project that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to overnight the van in at least one county in the state. Currently I'm at 13 counties out of 39, so I'm a third of the way there. Cascadia Westy sticker, a bunch of band stickers that I like, Sounders, as I'm a big Sounder supporter, KEXP, which is probably one of the best radio stations in the world, PDX land. That's a 1,000-man land party now down outside of Portland. Of course, you all know that I'm not just a Vanagon owner, but you have to be a mechanic. The Vanagon Owners Group sticker, that's a great Facebook group. Find more information on vans, but you have to basically own a van to join the group. So these are just tapped into the reverse light, and they make a nice super bright backup. You know, I have them angled out to the sides, and that's so I can see where I'm at when I'm driving in my driveway. Because you can't really see behind you in a Westie, but you can see out to the side. All right, this is the rear of the van open here. You can see here is I've added some tools up here. I just took the Harbor Freight tools that I bought and took the handle off and screwed it down to the wall here. It's super handy to have these here. I'm going to add some more tools here. I have gloves, of course paper towels, a 4-in-1 fire extinguisher sits here. I have 2 of these in the van. These are ABCK, which means they do grease fires. Super handy if you're in a kitchen. These are actually good for your home too. I got off of Amazon. I also have a can of Fix-A-Flat up here because, well, Fix-A-Flat's easier than changing a tire. Baling twine, tie wraps. You know, here's a distributor cap. Here's a spare belt. I've already had to reach up here before and grab a spare belt. And this is a new spare belt that I put back in here. Always super handy to have tools here though. Red, white reflective tape on here. That's so when you're working on the van, you can have this out to the side and people can see you and have a lot less likely to hit you, right? There it is all set up. On the back side of my engine cover is a blaze cut. This is the 3-meter long version. Basically what this is an automatic fire extinguisher. Hopefully I never have to use it. So I said I had an 84 Westie, and here's the interesting part of my van. This is actually a 2.1 liter Digifant motor. And another thing to note about it is it has these metal crossbars here Those metal crossbars denote that this engine came out of a Synchro. This is actually a Chinese airbox that I have on here. A couple other things to note in here is you may see that I've put this kill mat on here. This is a sound deadening material. It actually sounds really good in here. This is hollow. This is actually the wheel well, and so this helps a whole lot. This is not as big of a deal here. This is between the firewall and the engine, so that helps a little bit there. When I pull the furniture out next time, I want to wrap some more around. Upgraded these side panels most of the way around the van right now. It's done, except for the driver's side door and some finishing on the passenger door. Is I pulled all the panels off. Then I pulled the stock yellow style insulation off the walls. Placed Kilomat anywhere I could access. Placed this sound deadener. I used Rockwool sound deadener. Little less insulation, maybe a little more sound deadening. So up in here, there's sound deadener, and then on top of that, I've placed these white pine panels that I've put this deck stain on. And I went with deck stain, so it was a little less moisture, repelling, or a little more moisture repelling, I should say. So my back cabinet here, I have a few things I keep stored here, as I have some tie downs, a spare raincoat, basically rain gear, rain pants. In here, I keep a sleeping bag. And in here I have a down comforter. They're usually enough for summer camping just to roll out and go. On to the passenger side over here. This awning is super clutch. It's the ARB 2500. I about melted at a summer show this last year, and Northwesty had a sale on their brackets, and so I picked up the awning from them. And the brackets, it was a one-person install. I would say that the awning took me about under an hour to install by myself. Here's a pretty standard Vanagon cockpit, but I have a few changes I've made, of course. One is there's a voltmeter built into the dash now that gives me engine battery voltage instead of glow plus gauges. These switches do two things. This one right here, close to this plug, controls this plug. This lets it run off of the rear house battery and gives me house battery voltage. If I put it up in position 1, it goes to ignition. So if I turn the ignition on, you'll see that voltage come up and down. Also the same thing with this switch. This switch is for the deck, and this lets me turn on either run off of house battery on the lower setting or run off the ignition on the upper setting, or leave it off. So you want to turn the deck on when you're camping, or note the voltage on the house battery from the front of the van. You can do both of those here. So that's super handy. I also have put a deck that I really like in here. This is an older deck. It's probably 10 years old. It does Bluetooth and HD radio. It plays MP3 CDs. It's got a USB in on the front, aux in on the front if you want. Alright, so I got the pop top up. Let's move along to the interior / camping side of the van, because that's what most people buy Westies for. Alright, so one of the things that makes Westies so cool here is this Z-bed, right? So this bed just easily pulls out and comes back down. Easy to make. Just got to slide this cushion a little back, and bam, I have a bed. Super easy, put away, same story. So under my Z bed here, I have the stock spot where the rear heater would be, and I've pulled that rear heater out because the radiator leaked in it. But what I've done is I've replaced that with a diesel heater. So I put a diesel heater, its tank, and the pump down here. This diesel heater rocks the house. I got to finish the install. I need to strap the tank down, and then I want to put a cover over that and build a box there so I can use this space more efficiently and get this back as storage space, right? This is the controller for the diesel heater. It's cheap, Amazon one, $135 I believe shipped. I still haven't figured out a place to mount that. Again, it's that install is 90% done, but usable. I may go up here where a lot of people put theirs. I just couldn't figure out a way that I wanted to go through that fire or through the walls down here in the cabinetry. And I decided just to go with this for now and run with it, especially since I was actually on a trip before and just needed to use it. Probably the best looking upgrade I ever did for the van was replacing the ratty old carpet with this Pergo hardwood floor, or whatever you want to call it, laminate stuff. So these are snap-in boards. I literally just cut the edge for that far side, snapped it in, ran them out to here, and then I had to rip this edge and make it so it massage it so it fits the edges right here. I use some filler in here. It looks like I should put a little bit more in there to keep some dirt from falling in the holes here. Same with the back on this side. But the one question you may ask is, why do I have this nasty carpet in here, right? Well, it's not to protect the floor. It's to keep objects from sliding around the hardwood. As soon as you start driving a van around, the hardwood slides your objects everywhere, including your cooler or whatever else. The great thing about that wood is if you spill on it or something like that, it easily mops up, versus the old carpet they had in there. That just absorb everything. And my carpet had been in there for 15 plus years. Or no, sorry, I should say 30 plus years, 35 years, and absorbed everything known to man probably. All right, working our way through the cabinetry. First thing is right back, strapped to the back of the cabinet, I have a subwoofer. It's a 10-inch self-contained powered subwoofer. And under this right here is where my house battery sits. I have 4 AGM golf cart style batteries. This is my silverware cabinet and standard junk drawer. On the outside here, I have a battery monitor system. But inside here, this is basically where I keep my utilities and my electronic equipment. Here's my fuse box and main breaker. There are these speakers here. Those actually hook to the rear channel of my deck, and there's a plug underneath the van so I can hang these off my awning and have music out when I'm partying or camping. Back on that back wall is the controller for one of my set of RGB string lights, which I'll show you here in a few. And then the other thing is remember I mentioned earlier that I pulled my propane tank off, and what I've done in here is hooked up to the stock spots where the propane comes in. You take this bottle out, and under here is a propane regulator with bottle adapter, and so I can run my stove off this propane. Other big thing to note is here is my DC to DC charger. This is a Red Arc BCD 1225. This is a 25 amp charger. Charges by solar if it detects any solar. The other thing is when the car is running, it auto detects that, and it will charge the system off the alternator. And this is a 25 amp. I went with the smallest because, quite frankly, I only really have about 40 amps, 35 amps of usable power in that AGM pack. And this will charge that super quick within an hour or two. This will also do lithium ion phosphate packs. So when I upgrade to lithium ion phosphate, I just change a jumper on here, and it will change over to a charge profile made for those, which is a lot higher voltage charge profile and a lot more current. That's a magic box to have in here. I really like these versus the battery switches. It acts as an isolator. It does all the stuff I want in one unit. Just shy of $300, I believe, off the top of my head, but I believe they're super worth it. So speaking of solar, I keep my solar cell stashed right up here in the cargo container. This is a 100-watt cell. I keep it set upside down, so in case anything rocks or such fall on it, it won't damage the cells as easily. But this is one I picked up off Amazon. This is an HQST. So moving back in here into the van, we have what would normally be a fridge in most Westies. I have the Go Westie fridge removal kit. It gives me a second shelf in there, or a shelf in there. I keep a lot of my stuff that I just keep in the van all the time in here, including like my jet boil, some freeze-dried food, some instant coffees, instant pho, some water, some Gatorade, just stuff that in case I'm out overnighting, camping, partying somewhere. This is where I keep my cleaning supplies. This is power port. Goes to the outside wall on the other side of the van. Alright, I close my stock curtains, and under the curtains here is this cabinet. And what you have here is a 2-burner stove with draining rack and a sink. This goes to down and below the van. You can either use a gray water tank or I'll use a hose to run it off to if you need. So in the van here I have spots for 2 tables. That bar comes out from behind there and lets a table sit between the 2 seats there. That is actually for this table wood that I have here. This one comes out also. And I actually have a bigger one that's in my garage that I don't usually travel with, because I usually like to put this table up there and leave access to this spot in this flat area here. It's kind of nice. I don't store a whole lot in here because these are hard to access. This one's above the water tank right there. So this goes in there, or this one's above, not the where the water tank's at. This is just above that storage compartment down there. This one you'll notice is a lot shorter. It's above the water tank, but these are great to have, these little storage spaces. The Westie is just chopped full of storage, which is really nice with it. Over here, this is the Uniworks design vent cover for back here for the fridge and such. I've also put that same quick call charger in here, and this switch powers on that and powers on the standard DC power port, or cigarette lighters we like to call them in America. But that'll let me charge things back here that I need one of these for. Plus I have the 2 USB quick charge ports and again the battery monitor. Plus I like to put in the switch back here because when I'm sleeping back here, these are actually really bright at nighttime when you're out in the middle of nowhere. So I can turn these off if I don't need them. Above here I have the stock dome light, but I've actually swapped out the light in there for LED and added more in here. So this is actually pretty bright. Plus I have this light strip that sits above the stove. That can be disabled by this. I can't enable it. They both run off this power because I didn't run new power for that. I was kind of lazy when I put it in 10 plus years ago. And then also I have an RGB light strip up in here, but this is one of those light strips that wraps around the van. I have 2 of them. I have one, this one wraps around through here and ends up coming out under here too. This gives me indirect light in the rear of my van where otherwise this area becomes very dark at nighttime, especially with all the curtains closed. All right, one last piece of storage here is in what we call the headbanger. If you have a van with air conditioning, this is an air conditioning unit, but in mine, it happens to be more storage, and I keep a lot of my road trip stuff in there. There's a Bentley, there's stuff to fix wiring. These are all my curtains for the wraparound of my van. These are the front curtains for the van, and the side curtains for the side door. All right, a few things upstairs here is first, I'm in desperate need of a new top. I don't have any massive holes, but they're starting to become holes now in the last year or two. So I'm going to replace this pop top here this next year. I don't know which brand or which one I'm going with, but this is the stock one. Includes the single door, and none over here, but that's really nice to get the upgrade, and it has the side ones. The other thing up here in this upper compartment is here's where the bed's at. I'll fold this bed out here in a second. What I also have up here is some styrofoam pieces. These I put in my windows when I'm camping. I have one for the front window, one for the rear window with the notch cut out of it, and I have one for this side window over here. So I can put this in this window here. It snaps right in and locks and it actually exact fits the window, and that pops in there. It makes it so it's much darker and insulates it a little bit when you're camping. I already have one that lives back behind this window here. Let's show you how this bed comes out. Alright, so there we have a second bed up here. It's actually much longer than the other one. Looks like I need to clean it. It hasn't been cleaned since I went to fair last time. What you end up doing, get up there, is you step on, usually right here, and or the bar, and then the stove area, and just climb on up there. It gives you a whole different perspective being up here. Everything's so small down there. So I can just barely sit up in here. I'm kind of short, but plenty of room for somebody to camp in here. Lay your sleeping bag out. In theory, you can put 2 kids back up here pretty easily. You're a single adult real easily. Maybe 2 adults, that might be a little tighter. It's actually a wider, bigger bed than downstairs. Just more awkward to get up to up here. I really do like the warm feeling that these wood panels give to the whole van. It's super nice to have that little bit more outdoorsy feel in the van. And my other panels were quite frankly well past their prime. All right, well, that was a fun walkthrough with all of you guys. Again, I'm Mike with Not Vamporn, and please like, subscribe, and comment below. And I'll see you next time.